across the board. Tech is weak for why Simo was talking about. SanDisk and Western Dig are certainly a drag there. We're about 54,000 on the Dow. We're still pacing on the S&P for the best week since April. We've had a lot of calls, Josh, lately about 8,000 on the S&P. Yardeni's at 8250 says that could be conservative. You've called it one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest tapes that you've seen in an awfully long time. Tom Lee says you could hit 8,000 this month. And earnings are the story. They're the story in all caps. Yes. Because the growth has been pretty remarkable, about 50% in the second quarter. If you strip out Google and Amazon and their investment gains, it's at 31%. July 1st, it was 24.4. So estimates continue and growth continues to go up, and that's driving the market.
So I have my contras. Do you guys have contras, like people that you know are always wrong, but you listen to them anyway because they make you feel better? You have like one or two? I know you do. Yeah. Sneaky, but like everyone. So I have my contras, and it's really helpful, actually. They have podcasts, so it's super convenient. I don't have to track down their comments on social media. I can just listen to a steady stream of it. And the people in 2024 that were lamenting the fact that it was a hyper-concentrated bull market, just Mag 7, it's all hyperscaler, right? Those people, and they didn't like the fact that the market was being driven at that phase of the rally by PE multiple expansion. Well, they changed their tune because now it's not. We actually have multiples compressing. What we have is massive earnings expansion all over the market. And so what they're saying instead now is earnings bubble. You can't win with these people. But again, I find that to be a helpful exercise. Let me listen to this guy. Everything he says is backwards. That's what they're saying now. If that's the problem, that there's too much earnings, I'll take it. And I want to be really specific here about what's going on. Let's take out Google and Amazon earnings because we know they wrote up their stakes in Anthropic and other startups, and that's not obviously repeatable or something that we want to get too excited about. Even if you pull those out, the S&P 500's earnings growth is still 28.8%. For next quarter, the analysts are already increasing estimates. Normally, analysts reduce estimates during the quarter. They lower the hurdle, make it easier for their coverage universe to jump over. They're not doing that now for Q2 and for Q3.
All right, I just thought we'd stick with this for a few minutes until we go live at 2 p.m. We're looking at the S&P 500 achieving 8,000 here in the not too distant future. You know, I always talk about the S&P 500 as an index that grows at between 8 and 10% annually, annualized average annually. So while not recommending anything in particular, it is something you should pay attention to because the S&P is, it continues to make strides. It's the index composed of 500 of the world's largest companies, so it's extremely diverse. We'll continue to listen, and we'll start up at 2 p.m. Hit that thumbs up, please. I implore you. It helps, and we need all the help we can get.
We're talking about sales growth of plus 14% in the quarter. You can't fake revenue. You could fake earnings, but that's not what's happening.
You and Tom Lee are on the same wavelength as he says, Malcolm. There are some investors criticizing S&P 500 earnings quality. Our analysis shows there are sizable contributions coming from investment gains, but keep in mind, to Josh's point, organic EPS growth is still 21% in the second quarter of 26 so far, and 2027 EPS estimates are still rising. We're dip buyers. We see the S&P reaching 79 to 8,000 this month. Make sense to you?
I don't disagree with the premise. I think that what the market is showing right now is that as long as the four main hyperscalers who are throwing trillions of dollars at the problem, trying to create as much compute as possible, continue to reaffirm their spending plans and also increase them, as we just got basically from all of them through the last earnings period, that is reason to feel bullish. It's obviously trickle-down economics. It's going to go through the second and third order effects. All the different companies, Caterpillar, for example, is having its best year probably ever because of Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta spending as much as they are on the build-out. At the risk of sounding like one of Josh's beloved contras, though, I will say I think that probably is through the end of this year. So
but isn't the point, though? Isn't the point? isn't the point that what was perhaps focused all around what you're saying has now broadened? Like the earnings growth was a tech story and felt like it was a tech only story. But to John Waldron's point, president of Goldman, who we ran the soundbite of yesterday, double-digit earnings growth is propelling markets, and it's broadening out. It's no longer just a tech story.
That's big. That's huge, and it's good. It's positive. The Magnificent Seven were those 7 tech stocks that were really overweighted in the performance of the S&P. That has broadened out, and that's good news as we approach 8,000 on the index. So I'll let him have his say.
That they once had and using it to get more efficient. So their operating margins are getting far better. The point, though, is that the market only cares about one particular theme right now, and it's trickling through all the other different sectors that touch the AI revolution.
Well, I mean, it happens to be like one of the most powerful themes in the history of.
I think
I'm not saying that
the United States economy.
I think every bull market is that, though.
I'm not saying that it's not warranted, so I want to make sure that I'm clear about this. I think that we could get to 8,000 very soon because of the belief in what we're looking at right now. The question is, when does it stop? And I think that's the part that the bullish folks like a Tom Lee, for example, are not necessarily looking that far out and saying. They're saying this particular quarter, we get to 7,900, 8,000, and we'll see where we go from there. I agree with that.
All right. So again, S&P 500 continues to be very strong as an index, which is something we all need to just keep in mind as we try to figure out, how to navigate this economy, this evolving economy. There's a lot of good news out there. All right. And we want to bring you the truth, not just the good news, not just the bad news, but we want to bring you the truth around what's going on with this economy. Okay. So guys, look, let's get started. Of course, I've got that comment up there. Get your free 2026 economic survival guide at healthwealthlink.com/join. If you have not availed yourself of that yet, please do. We will be having a live stream on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, to go over this week's financial tip in detail. If you haven't got the tip for week 1, go to healthwealthlink.com/join, get involved. We did a live stream going through that tip, okay, in detail. We're going to do the same thing for week 2 tip that's out there now, and we're going to do the live stream on that this coming Tuesday, okay? All right, so let's get started here with, you guys might find this interesting. We're going to get into these restaurants, and they're under siege, and it's unfortunate because a lot of the smaller restaurants, they're the mom and pops, local joints that we're used to, around town. They're, you can't if you got a local joint in Baltimore, you're not going to be able to find it out in Sacramento. They're the ones that are getting hurt right now. Remember, a lot of these local restaurants took it on the chin during the whole fiasco of 2020, right? A lot of them got closed down. I can tell you from experience, several of my favorite restaurants got closed down during that time, never to return, right? So we're going to talk about the economics of it, all right? But first, and I want you to weigh in here. If you can comment, let me know, how often do you go out and eat per month? Okay. So while you're doing that, let's take a look at, are you guys familiar with Buc-ee's, the big gas station, like Walmart / gas station chain down south? Buc-ee's has got a problem. Buc-ee's has got a real issue. And I tried to call them and express my displeasure with what they are doing. But Buc-ee's is impossible to get on the phone, which is another problem, right? So thanks to the power of social media and this platform, YouTube, we're going to go ahead and call out Buc-ee's live on the show today. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. All right. Hold on one second. Bucky's is tripping hard. All right. And Bucky's is also attacking one of these small local businesses that, they're not looking for any static. They're just out there trying to do their thing. Right. And they've been trying to do their thing for a long, long time. Here comes Bucky's with a lawsuit like you would not believe.
Tonight, a local gas station is being sued by Bucky's, who claims their logo and their name have violated Bucky's trademark. Atlanta News First, Tracy Emick Pierce spoke with the owner of Teddy's Market in Canton. She joins us live from outside the gas station on Providence Court. So, Tracy, what's the issue here?
Well, it all comes down to whether or not a reasonable person would confuse this teddy bear with the Bucky's beaver. And the owner of Teddy's Market tells me that is not happening.
Bucky's is really big and huge, and it's like a mall. I think it's kind of hard to get confused with this place, right?
Landon Ginn shops at Teddy's Market all the time. It's a small business in Canton with just one other location and
I've never been to Bucky's, but I would never mistake Teddy's with Bucky's. How about you? Is there any brand confusion here for you? Would you walk into Teddy's thinking you were at Bucky's?
Location and a third on the way. He says there's no way he'd ever confuse the Canton-based gas station with the Texas-based convenience store giant Bucky's. But a lawsuit filed by Bucky's claims the logos and the names are so similar that they could create a likelihood of confusion. That lawsuit claims a number of trademark infringements, including that both logos are cartoonish, both arbitrarily wearing hats, that they both have white highlights on their eyes and nose, and that both characters show a glimpse of a red or pink tongue.
Okay, let me take a look here. Let's go over this again. All right, here are the two logos. Bucky's is obviously a beaver, right? The teeth, they give it away. This thing over here, I wouldn't have immediately said this was a beaver. Teddy's, because it's named Teddy's, I'm thinking that this is a bear. Okay, that's where I'm going with it, right? I don't see the pronounced teeth like a beaver. There is no resemblance whatsoever in these two images for me. And if I'm driving around the South looking for a Bucky's, and I'm looking for this logo, let's say I'm totally illiterate and can't read the word Bucky's, right? So I'm trying to find it based on the logo. I know that this is not it. This is like a lesson that you would have been given in kindergarten. Do these two things match? And you would say no.
Are cartoonish, both.
Okay, both are cartoonish. Yes. Bucky's, you're not the only corporation that can use a cartoon in your logo.
Arbitrarily wearing hats, that they both have white highlights on their...
Yes, Bucky's. You can wear a hat and not be associated with Bucky's.
Eyes and nose, and that both characters show a glimpse of a red or pink tongue. Customer Kaylee.
Tongues are red or pink.
Jordan says she doesn't see it. The nose has some white on it, and the Bucky's beaver has white on it. Mm-hmm. There's a baseball cap on each. Mm-hmm. So do you think that there are certain things that are kind of in common here?
No.
The lawsuit claims the name Teddy's is also at issue, with alleged similarities to the Bucky's name in a number of ways, including that they are both two syllables with
what?
A hard consonant sound, and that both end in the sound E's.
Yes,
you wouldn't
ma'am.
get confused because Teddy's and Bucky's?
No, ma'am. No, not at all. Yeah, I just think it is crazy, though, that they're, doing that lawsuit for them, because I don't see the resemblance at all.
The owner of Teddy's Market, Keiran Ahuja, tells me he created Teddy's Market and the logo back in 2024 to add some fun to their gas station. He says he was surprised that Bucky's would come after them and admits there's a lot of pressure when it's a big company like Bucky's with all their resources. He says they're not backing down, and their customers tell us they will back them through this all because they don't think this bear and this beaver look much alike at all.
Okay, so Teddy's is a bear. Okay, so I was right in my intuition on that. So it's a bear versus a beaver. They're like two different species.
I love them both. Huge Buc-ee's fan, but I don't agree that it looks like a Buc-ee. It's a different animal, different name. Don't know if I follow that.
Now, in the lawsuit, Buc-ee's is asking for monetary damages and for an injunction that would order Teddy's to stop using the logo and the name. Here in Canton, the owner calls this lawsuit, quote, frivolous. He says it's taking their time and their money.
Shame on you, Buc-ee's. Shame on you. Bullying the little proprietor of this mini mart. Okay? There's no mistaking Buc-ee's with Teddy's. I implore you, Buc-ee's, withdraw this lawsuit. You are persecuting a small business operator, and you should be flat out ashamed of yourself, Buc-ee's. Jeez Louise. Anyway, hit that thumbs up, guys. Let's see. We got SGR in the house. Says, looks like they need to learn copyright law. SGR, you, if I'm not mistaken, you have some legal training, I believe. You might be a lawyer. Am I off base with this? I just don't see the resemblance. They both, Buc-ee's just say they both have hats on. Okay. Let's see. Dujo. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Dujo 87. I don't eat as much fast food as I used to because of the prices. I'd rather spend half and make it at home. I'm with you on that. Okay. Yeah, LJ, Teddy's automatically says to me, bear, right? And Teddy's probably is AI generated. It probably is. Yeah. We got here. Hold on. Stand by, guys. Right. Teddy's looks nothing like Buc-ee's. Alex says there are some exceptions, though. Alex, hold on. You must have made it earlier. Well, SGR, Teddy's does look a little. I mean, it's like this is not Buc-ee's. First of all, Buc-ee's has like a huge parking lot because they're a gargantuan store. Let's see. SGR says trademark. I'm not a lawyer, but their likeness is not the same. Gotcha. Right. I agree. Okay, guys. So we're talking about it's halfway decent lead up, right? Because Buc-ee's, you can get prepared food. I don't know about Teddy's, right? I don't know if you want prepared food. I don't know anything about Teddy's, right? But we're talking about food that you go out and eat. Now, as I was thinking about this live stream, one thing I thought about, and let me know if this is the case with you guys. Now, I came of age in the 80s, right? I was a preteen and teenager in the 80s. And even before that, when I was a young, person, just 8, 9, 10 years old, we never went out that often. I mean, we were taken to McDonald's and Burger King every now and then. And by every now and then, I would say maybe once a month. Okay. On really special occasions, like if you're really, really good in school, and my brother had to do good in school too. And on those rare occasions when those stars aligned, we got to go to Pizza Hut. Okay. Those stars did not align that often. Damn, it's back in the day when Pizza Hut was good. That's another issue with going out to eat today. The food, it either all tastes the same or it just doesn't taste good. Pizza Hut, shadow of itself. Some guy opened a Pizza Hut and went retro with it, back to the 80s decor and whatnot. And I've been meaning to try to call him and ask, are you using that 80s recipe? Because if you are, I will find a reason to vacation in your town. Okay. So food's more expensive. And we, as Americans, I think we had gotten into this mode where going out to eat was nothing because of the rise of fast casual restaurants. Fast casual existed in that space between McDonald's and Ruth Chris. Okay, so you got your Chipotle's out there, Qdoba's, you got Applebee's. I used to go to Applebee's all the time. I haven't been in many years. And then so those are the nationals, and then you've got your local spots, right? Like back in the day here in Baltimore, you had Conley's for seafood. And if you went there, you were doing something, right? And then there was also this Japanese steakhouse called Nikki Bai Kai. And I mean, if you were able to take somebody to Nikki Bai Kai, you had arrived. Okay, or so we thought, right? But it was all special occasion type stuff. Most of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, we ate meals prepared at home. America's going back to that. We have no choice, right? Because food is like super expensive now just to go buy it at the grocery store. So when you need to put a premium on it to make a profit because you run a restaurant, then the fact that you can't, I always say this, Popeye's chicken, good, great for like 15 minutes. But I don't know what it is. It doesn't reheat well. And it's unlike KFC. With KFC, you can eat it the next day, right? I don't know what it is. Or at least I'm saying this, guys, and understand I haven't been to these restaurants in years. I love cooking at home. So the restaurant industry is taking it on the chin due to these elevated food prices, okay? Let's see. Yeah, gas station food is terrible. It is. Gas station sushi. Who out there is brave enough to eat that stuff? Alex says, I was trying to say that most family-owned restaurants use the same distributors rather than sourcing locally. Chain restaurants use these distributors as well, obviously. Correct. Cisco, they're like the big powerful entity in supplying restaurants big and small, leading to the lack of being able to differentiate between taste. You want uniqueness when you go out to eat. When I go over here, all right, great, that was good. Now next week when I go over here, I don't want to taste the same thing, But yeah, Cisco's big in that. LJ says in the 90s, my husband and I had a Pizza Hut date night every Friday after a long work week. So you agree now, do you, that the recipe has changed? It's just changed. Why did they change? Why fix something that is not broken? Funny. LJ says, I only order and eat out as a way to save time. Absolutely. Okay. I eat at home way more than eating out. And see, I will admit, when I'm in the crunch for time, when I'm out and about, I look for a McDonald's. And why do I look for a McDonald's? Because I know how it's going to taste, with a high degree of certainty. And you know how when you're getting hungry anyway, your brain is like misfiring. And so the Golden Archers, they've done such a great job of branding that you just, and they're everywhere, right? You don't have to look too hard. All right, so let's take a look, guys, at, let's see here. Let's take a look at a report that is from Los Angeles County about how restaurants are really struggling. We got a couple of reports we're going to look at here. Give me just a second, because we're also going to talk about the financial aspect of this from a personal, financial standpoint.
Now from beef to seafood and veggies, food prices are on the rise because of the war with Iran, and restaurants are getting crushed. CBS LA's Lauren Posen is live in Agoura Hills with what business owners are doing to make ends meet. Lauren.
Well, Pat, when you're at the grocery store feeling this squeeze, these local restaurants are right there with you. What's going on here is really showing how connected the global supply chain is. And when one part goes down, we all feel it. That sizzle, it's getting more expensive by the second. Even these perfectly sliced tomatoes are feeling the heat.
The food prices have been going up.
Dave Folds, co-owner of Cronies Sports Grill in Agora Hills, says some costs stay steady, but others have skyrocketed.
Other things like burger patties, they're up significantly for us right now.
He says customers even choosing to dine out is also a question now.
I'm worried about our customers who have to pay $30 more to fill up their gas tank. Do they fill up their tank, or do they go out and have a lunch?
The latest.
That's the other piece of this, right? It's not just that food prices are elevated, it's that you don't have as much disposable income because of energy bills, for example, not just gasoline, but gas and electric as well in many states.
His Consumer Price Index report found beef prices are up 15% compared to last year. But the real shocker, tomatoes up nearly 40%. Economists say the war in Iran and the disruption of oil shipments are just a few factors in a perfect storm, driving both energy and fertilizer prices up. Getting that food to your table costs a lot more than it used to.
Probably grown in the Central Valley of California or in Iowa, and it's shipped to your home. So all of those shipments are more expensive.
The big question is how long until the prices cool off?
Let's say tomorrow we get a news that the Iran conflict is resolved, Russia-Ukraine conflict is resolved. Don't expect the prices to be normalized in a day or two or weeks or a month for that matter.
Back at Cronies, Folds says they only raise prices once a year.
Well, the other thing about that, the gentleman had a great point, but again, domestic energy prices for gas and electric, okay, those are not something that is by and large impacted by what's going on in Iran. That conflict has a larger impact on prices at the pump and also imported goods, especially from China, okay? But when it comes to food, you have to store it, and that requires refrigeration in many instances. And refrigeration, that requires electricity.
They're getting creative with lower price menu items to keep things affordable.
I think when they leave here, they feel as though they got a great value. Listen, we're not fine dining here. We are what we are. But we take care of our customers and our staff, and we know that they have bills to pay.
I like that because him being a small business owner, he's looking at it from a place that's more connected to the common man than, say, a McDonald's corporation would. You know, he's closer to the rank and file American socioeconomically than the folks in the boardroom at McDonald's. And I'm not throwing shade at them. I'm just stating a fact.
I also asked about takeout, if that's being impacted, whether people are ordering online and picking it up themselves or going through a food delivery service. They told me those numbers are tracked monthly, but they're expecting it to take quite a dip.
Wow. Okay. Because one of the reasons why a lot of people are skipping sitting down and eating in the restaurant is because, don't forget, you have to pay a tip. And I'm very dedicated to doing that, right? I've never in my life had a reason not to tip someone well. I've never had a reason in my life. Now, sure, in some cases I have gotten better service, okay, marketably better service. But my rule has always been 15% for lunch. And I'm talking at least here, at least 15% for lunch, at least 20% for dinner. Okay. And now I will say I reserve that for when I sit down and a waiter or waitress comes over and, you know, they do their thing, right? I saw on the computer screen when you pay your bill at Dunkin' Donuts, that thing said, "Would you like to leave a tip?" I'm like, for what? No, I'm not getting into the practice of leaving a tip for this, you know, behind the counter transaction. I'm not doing that. But a lot of people are realizing their bills at the restaurant, you gotta factor in that tip, right? You have to do it. At least that's the way I feel. Um, and so that adds a premium. That adds a premium. And then in the state of Maryland, you got a drink tax. So if I take my wife out and she has a drink, then we got, here's more premium on top of it. That's not the restaurant's fault. It's these greedy ass politicians. That's their fault. Let's see. Carolyn. I haven't seen you in a while, Carolyn. Hope all is well. Good to see you here. LJ says, Tyrone, I paid $4.50 for 3 green bell peppers last month. That's high. Usually they hit you like that with the red or the orange one, but geez. Carolyn says, hi, Tyrone. Hope you're doing well. I can't afford beef anymore. Been buying ground beef only lately. Carolyn, I said on the live stream yesterday that I was in local food market and I was thinking about what I was going to cook like for the rest of the week. And I saw a chuck roast, a 2.23 pound chuck roast. I try to get in at 3 pounds usually. 2.23 pounds, $23. That chuck roast is still at the supermarket. It might be gone, but it didn't come home with me. Okay. I try to keep a couple of chuck roast in the freezer because that tends to be the most affordable cut that, if you slow cook it, it's so tender, right? It's versatile too, right? But I got to stack up some more rewards points or something to beef. The whole thing with it is somebody was telling me yesterday that the issue with beef has a lot to do with there's like this monopoly in terms of beef processing plants. That's part of the problem there. But if enough people stop eating it, then corporations are going to have to do something. Because you're right, it has become prohibitively expensive. And what I ended up doing, I wanted to make some tacos with shredded beef. But what I ended up doing was I did it with pork. In fact, they're in the slow cooker now. So I feel you. I definitely know exactly where you're coming from with that. Let's see. Carolyn, who's your governor? Are you up in Nevada as well? Who's your governor, Carolyn? Okay. President Potato 222 says dating is no longer a thing for young people. They can't afford it. Even drinks at a bar are now $23 a pop in places. You are right. You are right. Let's get on the Wayback Machine and go way back to Tyrone's first real date. Okay. The young lady and I, it was not meant to be. We just went on one date. Tell you how long ago it was. We went to a movie. We went to see Die Hard in the theater. Okay. We went to see Die Hard. And after that, we went to the movie theater was in the mall. So we came out and went to Sbarro's and got a couple of slices of pizza and we got drinks. She got one, I got one. This was in 9th grade. And I had a lot to you not. I went to that date with $20 and I came home with change. Her father drove us, so we didn't have to, spend car fare. $20. We went to see Die Hard. I treated. Then, being the man I am of means, I took her to get a slice of pizza at Sbarro's. I even allowed her, I said, go for it. Splurge. Put pepperoni on it, sir. Because that's what she wanted. Pepperoni today, pearls tomorrow. We had a good time for $20. But today, you're right. All right. You're right. I can't imagine what it would cost to take a young lady out to a movie and then for a little, jive time dinner. My second date, I had moved up in the world. My second date, I took the same young lady, as a matter of fact. We went to Ruby Tuesdays. Yep. And I think, if I recall correctly, I didn't spend any more than $30 with the tip. Okay. Again, her dad drove us, so we didn't have to pay for car fare. Yeah. I'm sure she's probably married, and she probably looks back and says, wow, that Tyrone, man, that guy treated me like spent gold. Pizza with pepperoni, Ruby Tuesdays. Okay, Carolyn, you're up in New Jersey. Got you. Oh, man, you're almost as bad as us down here. We can't even trade governors, right? Because we're dealing with Wes Moore, and you're dealing with Mickey Shirelli or whatever her name is. President Potato says, I'm 63. My grandma taught me to cook on the cheap. I've always cooked for potential girlfriends. It was a secret weapon. I like that. Let's see. Yeah, I saw a post from Scott Pressler earlier today. Yeah, LJ, I never drank outside the home. I never do. Being a firefighter and an EMT, I've seen the result. I didn't do it before I became a firefighter. I rarely drink, and like I'll have a Guinness, like with my dinner. Doesn't do anything for me, but I'm always your designated driver. Always. Let's see. All right, let's take a look at the next report. So the small restaurateurs, they're under pressure, right? Let's look at it from the wholesale standpoint. A lot of restaurants, especially the big corporate giants, and you heard this last guy say that he only raises his prices once a year. But they're finding it more and more difficult to refrain from raising prices. Okay, let's talk about that.
We turn now to the U.S. economy and your dollar tonight. Inflation jumped to 3.8% in April, the highest level in 3 years. And some prices are rising more than others. Fruit and vegetable prices, for example, have climbed more than 6% in the past year. Tonight in our series, Affordability in America, the big buyers, wholesalers, and restaurant owners talk to our Jason Allen about how they're trying to absorb the cost, not pass them on, but they can't do it forever.
Grapes from Chile, tomatoes from Mexico, watermelons from South Texas.
That is so sweet.
Nando Gonzalez has trucks arriving to his cold storage warehouses daily at River City Produce in San Antonio.
From Washington, from California, Arizona, Texas, of course.
Produce prices are sensitive to whichever way the wind blows or where the rain falls.
The component that a lot of people don't realize is that all of these were affected by fuel.
Since February, the price of diesel is up 47%.
How is it different between the normal ups and downs that you have and this sudden and somewhat sustained extra cost that you have with fuel?
You hold your breath a little bit and you keep thinking it's going to go down until you can only get to a point where you can't absorb it anymore.
When the wholesaler can't absorb it, restaurant owner Luis Barrios has to figure out if he can.
Well, our CPA advisor, he's the one that keeps telling us, if you guys want to be around much longer, you have to raise your prices.
Los Barrios can't exactly go without jalapenos, limes, and tomatoes, which were up nearly 40% in April over last year. So the nearly 50-year-old institution recently had to raise prices.
Most consumers understand because they go to the grocery store as well.
Back at River City, Gonzalez told us he expects more restaurants and markets to decide that after eating the increased cost of produce for months, they can't stomach it any longer.
In an economy like this, people they're counting their pennies. They're not counting their dollars. And it's a pennies business right now.
It might just cost you if you
pennies extra for each avocado that you buy. But
Also, each potato and each tomato and those pennies, they can turn into dollars pretty quick.
That's true. All right. So, I told you guys I ended up settling. Well, I won't say settling, but instead of the beef shredded tacos, we're going with pork carnitas today, right? And I did we got a bag of frozen shrimp. We're doing a shrimp ceviche with that, some rice. We move around town when we do our grocery shopping. We buy a couple of things from Trader Joe's. We buy a couple of things from Safeway. We buy a couple of things from Harris Teeter and Wise. Okay, make a day of it because we're leveraging, sales, rewards points, stuff like that. Okay. Gone are the days, I believe, where you could just go to one supermarket and do all your shopping. You gotta maneuver, right? That's what we've been doing, and it's been working. The points. There's one supermarket in Maryland called Wise. We call it We Is. But they've got this point system where you can get like 36 eggs for $1, gallon of milk for $1.25 once you build up these points. So what we do is we track when our points are going to expire. I know that my points with them are going to expire on the 28th. So we build them up, and then we just go in there and leverage all of these deals that we're able to get on things that we eat, right? This is what, and why do I do this? It's not because I'm miserly, right? We don't have kids, so it's not because I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to save money because I still want to be able to invest money, right? I want to minimize the impact of these high prices on my ability to save for our future. Okay, and I really am concerned with Americans' ability to do that if they're faced with these high prices, coming from every direction. Yeah, Carolyn, tell you something about Wise. Okay, so Wise, what they lack in selection, okay, like the regional store here in Maryland is called Giant. All right. Giant has the whole shebang. They got the seafood department, the deli, they got, like a little butcher shop, whole 9 yards. Wise has a deli. They have no butcher shop. They have no seafood department. They've got like the frozen shrimp. They got stuff like that. But what they also have is when you talk about staples, again, like milk and eggs, those things, you're able to really leverage a good price. So I've got all the apps in my phone. So if I'm standing, let's say in Harris Teeter, and I say, I got to get this item, I can check the price over at one of the other stores that we, frequent. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So yeah, Wise is good for low prices on staple goods and non-perishables, especially. Okay. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, guys. Oh, now this is a good one, President Potato. Ask youngins what they spend in coffee or transport in a day. Ubers, energy drinks, coffee. If it's less than $100 a day, they're lucky. That stuff can add up. Coffee. All right. So we set up a little coffee station in our kitchen. We got a little coffee grinder. We do it. You grind the beans up. You can get into a lot of different varieties, a lot of different tastes. And that's how we roll, right? It's to the point now where I went to Dunkin' Donuts because I had some points, right? I wanted to spend these points. And I asked for a latte, and I didn't even finish it because it didn't taste like mine. Mine is better, in my opinion, right? I've been drinking my blend for so long. So yeah, these little teeny, what you think are little teeny expenses made often enough definitely add up. Okay. Definitely add up. Carolyn, when you go in there, make sure you sign up for their rewards points program. Um, we've been dealing with that for a while now. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I have heard Olive Garden, Alex. Who said that? I have heard Olive Garden described as the Burger King of Italian food. All right, let's look at one more report here. Now, this one is driving it home to exactly what we've been talking about, right? Consumers are turning to grocery store meals as fast food prices skyrocket. Now, before we play this, I do want to I want to have a word from our sponsor. Yes, we have a sponsor now, the Baltimore Blast, the affordable entertainment option in sports. So let's hear from the Baltimore Blast. Okay, I know it did it again with our sound. It cuts it off for some reason at a particular point. Not a problem. Okay. We know how to improvise beyond that. Hold on. Okay.
If you are looking for the best indoor soccer experience, it doesn't get better than the Baltimore Blast, right here in Towson Arena.
Okay, that is the Baltimore Blast, our sponsor, indoor soccer league, plays here in the Baltimore area. If you're ever in town and want to check out a game, please join us over at the Towson Arena. You got free parking over there. All right, so let's hear from this young lady. She's going to talk to us about the growing trend of eating at home. And I feel bad for, look, I don't have anything against restaurants. Okay. I personally never was one to go to restaurants that often, but I understand that not only these small businesses, restaurant business is tough too, right? There's small businesses making it happen. And even when you look at the big boys, like let's take McDonald's, for example, there are plenty of people who are invested in that company. Okay. They pay a dividend. So there's plenty of people making an investment income off of that. So at the end of the day, I would like people to be able to go out and eat if they so choose. But in today's environment, we have to maneuver in order to thrive through the challenges of this economy.
Are heading to the deli counter for dinner. According to the International Business Information Service, Americans spent more than $400 billion on fast food last year alone. And as Western Mass News reporter Chris Pisano found out, rising menu prices are weakening the traditional cheap and easy appeal of many quick-serve restaurants.
She just said that fast food was $400 billion market last year. That speaks to the investment aspect of it.
Traditionally, grocery stores have been the place we shop for, well, groceries. But increasingly, these same stores are offering ready-made meals, food that requires little, if any, preparation and effort to serve for yourself or your family.
Way more convenient. Yeah. Just don't have this time to cook. You know, babysitting and working and no time to cook.
And she's not alone. Consumers are rapidly shifting to these ready-to-eat supermarket options, and not just for convenience. Once considered an affordable eating option, a survey from Lending Tree showed nearly 80% of Americans say fast food is now a luxury because it's become so expensive. In fact, since 2014, Wallet Hub says fast food restaurants have increased menu prices by 60%, nearly double the rate of inflation over the same period.
Yeah, I never eat a fast food.
How come?
It's too expensive. Even, then you got to add DoorDash onto it. You got to take time to go get it. No, I don't like it anyway.
It's a trend not lost on the supermarket industry. Rich Kozakowski manages this Stop and Shop in Feeding Hills. His store is one of many now catering to the increasing number of customers looking for convenient cuisine.
Our prepared foods business is just skyrocketing, and a lot of people are coming in just for the fast, easy to-go meal.
According to the Food Industry Association, Millennial and Gen Z shoppers are driving the change, showing strong interest in customizable prepared foods. And a full 28% of shoppers now say they purchase deli-prepared foods from grocery stores as a replacement for dining at a restaurant, more than double the 12% who said the same in 2017.
If you go price per serving, you get a chicken, you can take it home, you can make your own sides, or you can buy a side. But I think price per serving, it's definitely cheaper. Plus, you're eating in the car.
With the rotisserie chicken, he's exactly right. I don't eat it in the car, but he's right on that. I can attest to that.
You're eating in a car with fast food. You can take this home, have a nice family time.
This spring, Stop and Shop went all in, announcing an expansion of their ready-to-go options, with not just refrigerated choices like sushi, soup, and sandwiches, but a hot bar specifically designed to make dinners easier and more affordable. It includes an expanded selection of comfort foods like burnt ends and white wine chicken, as well as new sides like mashed potatoes and mac and cheese. Edible offerings that fill an evolving need by appealing to both retailers and consumers, leaning into convenience without sacrificing affordability and flavor.
It's easier. I work second shift, so I bring them to work and pop them in the microwave, and it's not in plastic.
It's been a growing trend. I think it's going to just keep going, and we'll take the business and we'll satisfy folks.
Absolutely. So, look, that's one option, right? Another option is to cook or to learn how to cook, right? Some people don't know how. But you can learn. And when you cook, you got a couple of advantages. You can cook. I learned how to cook from my grandfather and my mother and grandmother. They taught us all how to cook. Now, my grandfather was the greatest cook in our family. In fact, in the Navy during World War II, he served aboard the USS Cabana, which was a destroyer escort in the Pacific, stationed in the Pacific. He was a steward on board that ship, which meant he was a cook. And he could cook so well that the captain assigned him to cook for him. My grandfather could really, really cook. And so we learned to cook in part from him, again, my grandmother and my mother. And one of the issues I had when I left home was portion size, because I was still cooking for 3 generations of people, okay, in one household when it was just me. So I had to break out of that. But other than that, I learned how to cook at an early age, okay, and I love cooking. And cooking is more cost effective. So you get to control the portion size. You get to have leftovers. Now, some people, I don't know. Let me know. How do you feel about leftovers? I don't mind leftovers for the second day. Now, third day, if they're still there, I'm less likely to eat it third day, right? But second day, I believe it tastes better. The ingredients have had a chance to permeate, right? So you got that. You can control your ingredients. If you are health conscious, you don't have to wonder, right? You can control your ingredients. So there is that. Now, Americans want choice. The young lady who was on the report just now, and I believe Carolyn also attested to the fact that this is, there's a convenience factor here, right? Time. Okay. As Americans have gotten, as a schedule has gotten more demanding, that corresponded with a rise in these fast food and fast casual choices that we have, right? But there's only so much we can take, and it's hitting some of these stores very hard, like Carl's Jr. I've never been to one. Carl's Jr., they're really not in this area. They're closing 10 and selling 49 locations amid a Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing in California. Now, part of the reason here is that, folk are slowing down on fast food purchases, but also another issue is the minimum wage increase in California. So think about this. At least 10 of these stores are going to close down. So these people are going to lose their jobs. They're trying to sell 49 other locations. All right. Minimum wage going up. That's another thing. You try to pass on that minimum wage increase in the form of higher prices. And folk are like, man, I'm not doing that for a Big Mac. I'm not doing that. You know? The house burger. We've all had a house burger, right? When your mom told you, no, we cannot go to McDonald's. We got food at home. I'm a big fan of the house burger. You take that ground beef, 80-20, all right? 80-20. My grandfather was very adamant about that. You need that fat for flavor. Put your onions in there, fry that puppy up, take some white bread, some nuclear orange Kraft American cheese, a fried onion, some ketchup. And that is like the most delicious thing in the world. And when you eat it, there's some nostalgia in there as an ingredient also, right? So we'll see. I think in the future we're gonna have fewer restaurant choices. I was also watching a documentary about Chinese food restaurants and how first of all, they're hard enough a good one is hard enough to find now. There are a couple of great ones in Baltimore City, but every last one of them is located in the hood. All right. And the last time I was in the hood and bought Chinese food was in the mid 90s. Poplar Grove and Riggs Avenue. If you Google that, do a street view, who knows what you might find. But we used to live on Riggs Avenue when I was very young. So I said, wow, man, have you ever heard of yakami? In Baltimore, we call yak gao mein yakami. All right. And it's like a noodle dish. And you can get chicken, pork, or beef. And it's got a boiled egg in it. And they put gravy in it and onions and ketchup even. Okay. It's delicious. Maybe it's just a Baltimore thing. But there was a Friday night when I got off work. I just got paid Friday night. And I said, I'm going to drive into the city. I'm not living in the city anymore. I said, I'm going to drive in the city and I'm going to get me a box of yakami. Okay. Pork yakami, ketchup, gravy, and 2 egg rolls. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to relax. Okay. That was the plan. So I go back to the neighborhood, not my neighborhood anymore, right? And it's a little sketchy, but I'm like, 20 minutes tops. I didn't call it in. 20 minutes tops, and I'm out, right? So guy comes in, older guy. He makes an order. I had made my order, and they were set up that this is the hood. You had to give them the money up front, okay? So I did that, and I'm sitting there on the bench. This place has no windows. Oh, and by the way, when you place your order, right, there's this little plexiglass. So you see their face and they're like, how can I help you? And then the plexiglass is like 6 inches thick. And they're like this. And everything else is wood paneling. All right. You don't know what they're doing in the back because they just this and then they're gone. Okay. Take the order. They're gone. And then they had this little slot that they put your food through. Like, remember that thing that turned around and like turned and they could put the food in it? You put the money in and then later on they put the food in. So me and the guy, we placed our order. We're sitting there. We're waiting. a group of about 8 girls came in, teenage girls. And one of those girls took a .357 Magnum pistol out of her waistband. Me and that guy got up and left. They weren't interested in us. They were about to do something crazy. Me and that guy got up and left. Needless to say, the people at the Chinese food place, they got a bonus that night because I didn't get my yakini. They got my money. I got in my car and I have never gone back there again. Okay. But those are the type of risks you have to take when you go to the hood to get Chinese food in Baltimore. Now, I'm no longer willing to take those risks. So the report I was watching was saying that a lot of the kids of Chinese people who own these Chinese food restaurants, they don't want anything to do with it. They have been, mom and dad did the hard work and got them a good education. And they're like, I'm not doing that. That was hard living. I'm a doctor now, so they're saying that there are going to be a lot less mom and pop Chinese food places in the future here in America. Yes. Oh, President Potato, you mentioned bacon grease. That's a good one. You know how I seared my pork before I put it in the slow cooker. I seared it in beef tallow this morning. Yes, I sure did. So this is going to be a good meal. Carolyn, they are looking to, again, raise the minimum wage. They want to do that here in Maryland, too. It's like California doesn't even exist. They don't know about it. They can't see what happened over there. People lost their jobs. People working in the fast food industry now cannot afford to take their family to the restaurant, even though they're making a higher wage. And who really wins when the minimum wage is increased? Unions and the IRS. I worked at McDonald's and I never once had the impression that this was supposed to be the type of job that was able to sustain a family. We were all teenagers, right? And I knew that, hey, if you own one of these, it's a different ball game, right? But just working here, no, this is a job for a kid. Okay. President Potato says pressure cookers are a young person saving grace, as well as freeze-dried veggies for making soups and stews on short notice and not ordering out. That's a good alternative. Okay. Goes on to say the Koreans have made bags of super special toppings and ingredients for ramen noodles. You add a handful and makes 40 cents of noodles acceptable. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Let's see. Rockhouse. When it comes to cooking, a crock pot is your friend. That's what the pork is in right now. I have Bambi stew in mine right now. Okay, excellent. The meat cost me 1 pew pew shell and some time to make big pieces and the little pieces and put it in the freezer. You know what, Rockhouse? Thanks for bringing that up. I am in the process of getting my hunting license, and the guy that I ran for office with, Ed Hale, he's an avid hunter. And he wants me to get my license so I can come down and hunt geese on his property. And I cannot wait, because if it's one thing I love is goose and duck. I love it. So that's what I'll be doing this hunting season. Carolyn says, we moved way up into Northwest New Jersey to get out of the city. I like that. No Chinese food around here. I miss it. I dabble. With some Chinese food recipes. YouTube, oh man, you can really. Now, I will say this. In terms of cooking ethnic food, Chinese food is the most intricate. Then Jamaican. Mexican is pretty simple. Good and simple. Italian, good and simple. Okay. Yeah. Yes, LJ. I finally bought beef tallow and putting it to good use. Let's see, guys. Hold on. Yeah, you got to take out the lead first. Might break a tooth. Okay, so Carolyn's got her slow cooker going. You know, those slow cookers come in real good handy in the winter, especially, right? When the days become shorter. Okay, all right, guys. So learn to cook, learn to hunt. We got to maneuver this economy so that we can have money to invest for ourselves as we get older. It's happening to all of us. No one's coming to save us. Okay. Rockhouse says, you will get your toes cold hunting geese. Well, I tell you what, thanks for the tip. I will get some of those little packets before I go out there. I'm looking forward to it, though. So learn to cook, learn to hunt if you're so inclined. That guy was talking about the supermarket meals. I will say that, like the rotisserie chicken, that's a good one. I take one of those rotisserie chickens and make a chicken salad. My wife has taken them and made chicken soup with it, right? And at Costco, that rotisserie chicken is only $5. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. Guys, if you are here and you have not hit the thumbs up, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up for me, please. It helps the channel tremendously. And we got to do it ourselves because YouTube is, is really not vested in what we talk about here. If we were talking about celebrity gossip or something that didn't really matter, I'd have 1 million subscribers by now. But that's not what we do here. All right, so hit that thumbs up. $5 at the Stop and Shop as well. Okay. I will keep that in mind. All right. Guys, listen, I hope you have a great afternoon. We're going to come at you with more. There's a video on the channel right now, an upload we made this morning about Elon Musk. Just purchased enough energy to power 750,000 homes. Why did he do that? What is that telling us in terms of investment potential? Watch that video, give it a thumbs up. And guys, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out.